Hey guys, it's JaaackJack and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I just wanted to do a quick little chit chat, hangout talk with you guys about my experience and my thoughts on menstrual cups. It's an alternative to tampons and pads when you're on your period. It's literally a silicone cup that you insert into your vagina and it catches all the blood and you take it out and empty that cup and then reuse it. I know, just saying that out loud, it's just like, it instantly sounds so disgusting, right? But we're gonna get into all the nitty-gritty stuff today. And if you're a guy, I don't know why you're watching this video, but if you are a girl and you wanna hear more and you just wanna hear my thoughts, girl chit chat talk, that's what this video is gonna be. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the video. So originally when I first started hearing about menstrual cups and kind of like the benefits and the pros about it and all that kind of stuff, I wanted to get a menstrual cup and then do a first impression. That's like the reason I got it. It was just to experiment and do a video on it, but I never got around to filming that video because my experience was absolutely terrible and it was like so bad that I didn't even want to grab my camera. That's how bad my first time using a menstrual cup was. I use the Diva Cup. It's the only one that I've ever tried, and it's because it's the only one I saw at Walgreens. It was about 35 or 40 bucks, something like that. There are two different sizes to choose from, and size or model 1 is for women under 30 years old who have never delivered vaginally or by C-sections, which is the one I have. And the second model is for women over 30 years old and or women who have delivered vaginally or by C-section. I know that other brands make different sizes, models, shapes, all that kind of stuff, but the only one that I have experience with is the Diva Cup. And dun dun dun, it looks like this right here. So it is a little silicone cup that, again, you just insert and it catches all the blood. When you take it out, it's like full of blood and you just dink, pour it out. Then you rinse it off and you reuse it. The most appealing thing about a menstrual cup to me was the fact that you can reuse it, so therefore you're saving a bunch of money, you're being less wasteful, and you're not putting chemicals up inside your body. Because let me just say, before this I was an avid tampon user, but I hate tampons. I hate the thought of tampons and just that they're so full of chemicals. And I didn't even realize that when I first started using them, but the more that I look into it, the more that they're so bad for you. And so with a menstrual cup, they are 100% silicone, so there's no chemicals, no plastic, no BPA or anything like that. And I just love the fact that it's reusable and eco-friendly and saves you a lot of money. Do you realize how much women spend on tampons and pads every single month? Just think of how much that is every year since you first got your period, which a lot of us like in middle school. So since middle school, like how much, just think of how much money you have actually spent on pads and tampons. That is a lot of money. That is just so ridiculous. So that's what really caught my eye about the menstrual cups. So now let me talk to you guys about my very first experience. Oh, it was terrible. Let me just give you a warning if you don't already know, if you've never tried. You need to be extremely comfortable and extremely familiar with down there, because using a menstrual cup, you are going to get up close and personal with everything going on down there. And so you have to know what you're touching, where you're putting it, all that kind of stuff. You really need to know your body. Before I actually get into telling the story of my first experience, let me first show you like what you're supposed to do. So you have your menstrual cup, and there are different ways to insert it. You can fold it like a little hot dog and then fold it again like that and then insert it, but and I think there might be other ways too, but the way that I do it every single time is I take the cup and I kind of fold one end in like that. I don't know how to describe that. So it makes sort of like this triangle shape, so there's like this point, and then you just put it up in there like that. And then to remove it, it has this little tail thing here, and so you reach in, you grab this tail, and then you just pull it down until you're able to grab the base, and then you pull it all the way out, and you pour the blood out, and you rinse it out, and you stick it back up in. So that's how you use it, right? So I had the hardest time figuring out which method of inserting it was easiest, because it's weird and bulky, and I didn't know like how to put it in. I was just like struggling for the longest time to find how to actually get it in and get it all the way in, because when I first put it in, I didn't put it in all the way. So it was kind of like sticking out like this, and I'm like, this is so uncomfortable, like very, very uncomfortable. This doesn't feel right. And I think once I finally got it all the way in, I think, and I read this online, I think the suction was too tight. And so by the suction being so tight, it actually gave me a migraine, and it was so uncomfortable. Like I had the worst headache. I couldn't get out of bed. It was so bad, and it was all because of this little guy. And so because of that, I never wanted to use this again. I was like, that was the worst experience ever. I am never going to use a menstrual cup. I don't even want to try another one. That was the worst. I hated that. It was just such a bad headache, and on top of that, I could feel this inside. Like it was so uncomfortable. And so I just had a totally terrible experience, and that was back in March of 2018. That's when I first tried this. And so I stopped using that, and I went back to using pads and tampons. So I put this back in the box, and I just stored it away, and I'm like, I'm not gonna even bother trying that again. But then I remember there was one time where I started my period and I didn't have any pads or tampons available, and I didn't want to run to the store, so all I had was this. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should give this another try. And so I gave it another try, and I had a way better experience, and I actually kind of understood how it works. And I feel like I hear this a lot of times when people talk about menstrual cups. There is definitely a learning curve. You're not going to get it just your first time. If you do, like, bravo to you, but for the majority of us, you're not going to get it on your very first try. You may have a bad experience like I did, but I just want to say, don't give up. If this is something you really want to use to help with your budget, or be more eco-friendly, or just be safer down there, I want to just encourage you not to give up. Keep trying with this. There is definitely a learning curve, and sometimes you may even need to try a different brand. I know one of my sisters, she tried the Diva Cup, and this particular brand didn't work for her, and she tried a different brand, and she's had a way more pleasant experience. So sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes you just need to try out what's out there, because there are different sizes and different shapes, and everyone's body's different. So try out different brands if the first one you try doesn't work out for you. Another thing is, I feel like the more that you use this, the softer and more flexible it becomes, and it just makes it easier to insert and more comfortable to wear. I think when I first tried this, because it was brand new and it was a little stiff, I think that's what made it like a lot harder for me, and it was very uncomfortable. And then I had that terrible suction thing with my migraine and everything like that. So definitely keep using it to get it softer and more flexible. I know you can also boil these for a little bit. I have never boiled mine, but I know that some people do that to help it get softer. What's great about the menstrual cups is that you can keep them in for up to 12 hours. And so it'll just catch all the blood for 12 hours, and then you can empty it out. So I think that's great for if you're going to be out in public, or if you're working or something like that. I would empty it out and insert it fresh right before you leave the house, and then so you can spend all that time out and about without worrying about changing it, and then once you return back home, you can change it. That's personally what I would do, and what I find is easier, because yes, you can use this in public, but it's a little bit you just gotta get a little creative. It's so much easier to use this when you have a bathroom that's like a private bathroom with a sink next to you, because you can empty it out in the sink, rinse it out in the sink, wash your hands, all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, if you're in a public bathroom with like all the stalls and the sinks are outside of the toilets, just bring in some napkins with you, wet cloths, or a water bottle, so that way, like, while you're sitting on the toilet, you can rinse it out. I've never done that before, but I know my sister has. She said it was fine. But me personally, I have only cleaned and changed it here in the privacy of my own home. And now I want to share some tips with you guys, and I feel like not everyone may agree with me on these tips, but I've been using this for the past year now, well, less than a year I'd say, but I've been using this for the past several cycles that I've had. So like I mentioned in the beginning, to insert, I fold this down to create kind of this triangle, and this point I insert first until it's all up, and then I kind of, the side that's like folded down, hold on, how do I show this? Once I insert this in, I'll push up from right here, so that way it instantly pops open once it gets inside, so then it's like this. A lot of times people think that if it goes too far in, it's going to get stuck or you're not going to be able to reach it, but there's how do I explain it? There's walls in there, and there's a wall that stops it. So it's not gonna just keep going up and up and up. There is a wall that it's going to hit, and that's like the top. I don't know all the names of all the body parts, so this is just the best way I can describe it. But your Diva Cup will not get stuck in there. It will not go too far up that you can't get it. I always just make sure it's far enough up that if I press against my down there, I can't feel that tip at all. So if I go like that and I don't feel the tip, we are good to go. Now this is the tip I have to share that I know not a lot of people will agree with me on, but I use coconut oil to help me insert the Diva Cup. People say you don't need to, but I have found it so much easier when doing this, and it just slides right on in. And so this coconut oil I specifically keep aside. This is just for Diva Cup use, because I take my hand and I just kind of go around it. And I'm pretty sure I've double dipped in there. So that's why this like container is just for my Diva Cup. But I take some of the coconut oil and I put it around here, and then I will fold it and then stick it in, and it slides in so easily, and it also comes out easy too. The only thing with using the coconut oil kind of as like a lubricant is that when you fold it and you're like trying to hold it, it gets a little slippery, so you're gonna have to like hold it really tight, and then again push it and it'll open up like that. Another thing you have to do is, again, it's weird, but you really do have to be comfortable with your body. So I will actually take my finger and go around the edge to make sure that it is fully open and like secure in there. So that's how I know it's like good to go. And then once I stand up, I kind of like do a little shake like this. I like move my legs and my hips, and if I don't feel anything, then you know that you placed it correctly. Now, how to remove it, or first let's start with how do you know when to remove it? It's almost like wearing a tampon, you know, when you can kind of feel when it's full, like you get that sensation like you have to pee and it feels really heavy in your lower stomach. It's kind of the same feeling, like you feel like you have to pee and it's feeling kind of heavy down there. So you're like, so that's when you know that the cup is getting full. I go into the bathroom, I pee and I clean myself, and then that's when I'll go in and take it out. So what you want to do is reach up and grab the tip, and you want to try and pull the tip down until you're able to reach the base. And then once you have the base of it, you can pull it out. Sometimes I've heard you need to like go in and kind of break the suction. So if you are struggling to get it out, sometimes you have to go in a little bit and just, all you have to do is push one side over and then like try and pull it down just to break that suction, because sometimes it can be really tight in there. So once I pull it out, I will just empty out the cup into the toilet, and then it still like obviously has like blood residue. So what I'll do is I'll go over to the sink real quick. Again, I only do this at my house, but I go over to the sink and I rinse it with water. That's really all you need. Just rinse it with water. And what I've noticed is that when I use cold water, that like bloody period smell tends to go away. But when I use hot water, that blood smell tends to linger. So I use cold water and I rinse this all out, and then it's nice and clean. And then I go back to my coconut oil, apply some around here, and then repeat the same process and insert this bad boy back in. I have gone running with the Diva Cup. I have done workouts with the Diva Cup. It's been completely fine and totally comfortable. Didn't leak or anything. I've also gone swimming with the Diva Cup and it was totally fine. I would say if anything, that learning curve of once you're getting like the hang of using a menstrual cup, I would recommend wearing a panty liner just because you can tend to leak here and there if it's not inserted correctly. One more thing I want to mention when cleaning, there are these 4 tiny little holes that you want to, I kind of like open, I kind of stretch out my cup and open so that water can get through. Like this is, I do this while I'm rinsing it out. So I open that up so that water can push through the hole to clean those out because you don't want those to get clogged. Sometimes I'll even take a safety pin if I need to clear out those holes because I know those tiny little holes help with like the suctioning. So you definitely want to make sure those stay clean. I don't know if you guys can tell, but there is a tiny little tint to the menstrual cup, and that is bound to happen with, you know, all the blood that's going in there. So there is going to be a little bit of a tint, but it really isn't too bad. Again, I use cold water to rinse it out, and I feel like that helps eliminate how red and bloody this gets and like kind of the staining that happens with your Diva Cup. I feel like the cold water really helps to eliminate that, and like I mentioned earlier, it helps to eliminate that period smell. So yeah, and that's all I've been doing. I don't even use soap. I think I've used soap once, but you don't really want to because you have to think about whatever you put on here, it's going inside your body. And so we're trying to eliminate, you know, the chemicals and stuff that's going in there. So if you're putting soap all over this, that's like, that soap is going up inside and ruining your pH balance. I know some people say coconut oil can harm your pH balance, but for me personally, coconut oil has been super awesome and I haven't had any issues. So ever since I got over that learning curve and the migraine, I haven't had the migraine ever again. It was only my first time using it. That's when I got that really bad headache. But the only thing I've experienced since then is there are moments, and this only has happened twice, but there's moments where I can't reach the cup and I can't get it out, and then I'm like freaking out and then I'm panicking, and that's like the worst thing you can do because your body tenses up, and I feel like if anything it holds on to the cup even more. Like you need to be completely relaxed. You also need to push it out a little bit. I don't know how to explain it. I would imagine like it's what you do like when you're giving birth, so you're basically giving birth to a little menstrual cup. But you're pushing, and when you're pushing, you can actually feel the Diva Cup kind of coming down a little. And so as you push, like you feel the Diva Cup come down, and that's when you grab it. But the main tip I want to share with you is if you're struggling and you're kind of panicking and you can't get it out, just take a breather and step away and just come back to it in like 20-30 minutes. Just give yourself time to relax and then try again. And that's what's helped me. So when I do struggle and I'm like, I can't get it out, I'll just be like, you know what, I need to relax. So I go do something else for a minute, and then when I come back, I'm able to do it. So it is not the end of the world. You will get it out. You just have to stay relaxed, and you have to make sure you're pushing when you're trying to get out, and also that you're comfortable going in and trying to grab it. Yeah, your fingers go in. So you have to be comfortable with that. I know it can be kind of a weird thing to talk about, but I have had such a pleasant experience now using a menstrual cup, and I think it's so awesome not to buy pads and tampons. So if I can share that kind of that little victory of not having to buy those, then I'm gonna share it. So that's basically been my experience with the Diva Cup. If you guys have any questions, make sure you let me know in the comments below, and I'll try my very best to help you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.